Welcome back to Port Elizabeth, the beautiful city. This is part 18. We're in Castle Hill, and you can see the wonderful view from this point. It's right outside 7 Castle Hill, which is the historic early 1830s building that the Reverend McCleland, the first parson in the city, I think he was, where his house is. But anyway, looking down onto the into the harbour, it's a stunning view of the modern harbour with its container cranes. You've got the bell tower of the old post office there. There's Feather Market Hall here. This is the side of the City Hall. Yeah, just a lovely perspective down. Let's just see there. Yeah, so we were outside Parsonage House, 7 Castle Hill. It's a little museum which tries to present a picture of domestic life from 1840 to 1870. I hope it's still being properly run. You never know. And these are the Stirling houses on the right from about the 1840s. These two, and they stretch back. You know, it looks like just a little house on the front here, a little cottage, but actually, if you see, it's an H shape. I think this one as well. Now, this is that tragedy I mentioned in the previous one, the Summit. I think this was the harbour manager's house originally. Big place, look here. But I mean, as I was here looking, these guys had worked their way through this slat in the fence, and it was just a vagrant's paradise. In fact, much of this area, tragically. So this is back in Daly Street. That's the old flag on the Donkin. And then heading up Castle Hill. And look at this great building. I forget what it was originally, but it's currently lawyers' offices. And very close to the new Supreme Court. So that's the gable of the drill hall. We saw its main sort of elaborate entrance on the other side in Prospect Hill. Now in Castle Hill, that's the view. So I think the parade ground used to be here where they built the first collegiate primary school. So that's a lawyer's building. And then we're heading up towards the Athenaeum. The lawyer's building is sort of the whole thing. Now this Ford Little Theatre, as it used to be called in the 80s, if you look at early pictures, there was wonderful, this sort of architecture that we see here was repeated down there, but unfortunately that was lost. So this is the Athenaeum Club, it was called, actually, it says down there. Again, the light is superb. I chose a really good day for this. Looking back down Castle Hill and into not Havelock Street, Belmont Terrace, with Carehaven on the left there. Now, when just go back a step. If you look at the book that I had published by the GFI Gallery in Park Drive, they what's the word, funded the publication of this book of photographs and drawings, or early drawings and maps, and then photographs of Port Elizabeth over the past 200 years. It's called Port Elizabeth, 200 years, a celebration of Port Elizabeth, and it's 160 pages. Anyway, you can see, for instance, a section on Castle Hill, just how things changed. You'll see soldiers actually resting while doing their marching, or they're playing football on the field that used to be here where the Collegiate Junior was built. This is now a government building. It wasn't much of an architectural thing, built in about 1930. So that was quite a nice architectural shape in its own right, was the Grand Hotel. And, that was a later iteration, because initially there was just an old settler cottage here, or sort of townhouse, really. A nice, big, elaborate house, which became a hotel. And then, obviously, over the century, it became this. And now it's no longer a hotel, sadly. So looking back down Belmont Terrace, past that little diocesan school there. And a nice juxtaposition of detail on the school's pillars, what would you call them? And the side of the Edward. Oopsie. So this is looking down Western Road. So I'm heading up Western Road, and I turned around and took that shot down. So Western Road has this, odd building, and then looking across Trinity Square, this is quite a nice view. So I showed in an earlier one these sculptures, the benches that are actually mosaic sculptures, and then the PE club in the distance. So there you get just a detail of it, which is rather pleasant. And this is Whitlock Street again. We saw it earlier. And we're back with the Holy Trinity Church. Now at the top of Pearson Street, or towards the top, or it's the middle, just before we reach a turn here into Lawrence Street. But this is another assembly of beautiful buildings. Let's see if I've got another picture of it. Okay, so this is Lawrence Street. And I actually lived for about 3 years in that building there. So there's St. John's Methodist Church right across the road from where I stayed. And then look at these characterful buildings. This was the Coachman restaurant for many years when I was there. Now it's moved to the beachfront. This is a great second-hand bookshop, antique shop. And heading down Havelock Street towards Havelock Square. So I mentioned Havelock Square in the last video. It's a real historic spot. And look at this great house. So this is Havelock Square. Unfortunately, we're looking into the sun again, so a bit hazy. So these townhouses were built from the 1860s, which is the same era as the Donkin Row. So here you can actually get an idea of how the Donkin Row looks, or should look, how it looked before they did their so-called restoration. And it's this attention to detail that has been removed. Stunning houses have this double gable and all the decoraties, as we say in Afrikaans. Here you can see this double chimney. This, I suspect, this balcony was added later. Could be wrong. No, it's probably very much an integral part. It's so beautifully done. I love the colors as well. It ties in with the leaves on the trees. So looking back down that row, some of the nicest, best preserved houses from the 19th century in Port Elizabeth, I would say. And tragically, this is in the heart of an area which is becoming just run down, you know. So this is the actual little park in the middle of Havelock Square. You know, in the UK, this would be a place. In London, it would be as safe as houses to sit here and play and have a drink. Anyway, Holy Trinity Church in the distance. So a nice Art Deco building again that's kind of looking very run down. I think this used to be the YMCA building. No idea what it is today. And yeah, signs of decay, I'm afraid. I'll just pause for a sec.